I have this new thing that we can try here. Can you hear this?
Try it again. Maybe I wasn't able to hear it the first time.
How about this?
So this is when you want to do.
That one we'll use a lot.
You're listening to, and this is why I love comics.
Andy and Mike. Andy and Mike.
And welcome to another episode of This Is Why I Love Comics. I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
And my enthusiastic intro is because I have been avoiding this for such a long time. I just wanted to say hi with enthusiasm and to say I love our audience. How's that for fun? And
Yeah. Well, mine is that I've been smelling paint and spray adhesive all day.
yeah, I mean, why not?
This, that's a bit of the entire house smells like we've been huffing paint like nobody's business or something. It's really, really strong. We're working on the basement and we're putting up some pieces. We use a spray adhesive to get these corner rounds. And needless to say, yeah, in the basement, trapped environment.
Awesome. If this is your first episode, welcome. We are old men who like to talk about comics, and we're old friends, and we giggle like little children, and yeah, I don't know what else to say. I'm very brief today, I notice, but that's okay too. We are all welcoming. Thanks for joining us. We're going to talk today about generic stuff and some role-playing stuff, and just sit back, and if you want to join in on the conversation, you can always email us. And this is why I love comics at gmail.com. And just please let us know what you like, what you didn't like, and all that stuff. We did get some listener comments regarding this episode, actually, talking about superhero role-playing games. Some people commented, and I'll share those later. Thanks for downloading the Neil Gaiman Sandman last episode. A lot of positivity about that one. And so we appreciate your downloads. Over 40 episodes on our website or wherever you download podcasts. So feel free to join in and download any of those. Some are better than others? ? I feel like I'm on paint thinner and because I'm just rambling, but that's kind of what I'm known for. Mike's more of the intelligent conversation. I'm the wacky sidekick that cracks the little jokes. What are we gonna do now, Spike? What are we gonna do now?
Talk about obscure references from yesteryear. You were saying that, and I was like, yeah, you're the Costello to my Abbott.
Yeah.
Let's go back to the silent era and talk about Buster Keaton for a while here.
That Charlie Chaplin.
Yeah, that upstart. What a hooligan he turned out to be.
We may sound really old, but we're not that old. I'm 52, and Mike is turned 52 as well. We're in the DC era of our lives, 52, and we're enjoying it.
Yeah, did you think about this, though? Like, one of the things, I kind of went back and I was looking at some old footage and some of my own kids, and I can hear, like, their voices have changed, and they're now sounding more like adults and so forth at this stage. And one would hope, but...
Because you have older children.
Yeah, but the thing is like, I kind of remember your high school voice.
Hello, folks. Well, I didn't reach puberty till like I was 40 something. So
Yeah, I was kind of thinking about that too. It's like, my gosh, there was a like. I mean, we've known each other for a long time, but then there's also that, like, we may be in our 50s, we have the mental faculties of somebody that's in their early teens.
yes, that's true.
And, yeah, I mean, I started the conversation by talking about farts, so.
Well, I was the one making farts noises.
And, yeah, ask me
Yeah.
please identify that one.
I stole this from my kids because I got tired of hearing it from them. But I thought this would be great for the podcast. Exactly. And so now we're going to sound like a radio station and we're going to play the hits.
Yeah. But first, the wacky antics. I just could not listen to any of those back in the day. Those like Howard Stern. I could not get into him as much as like everybody's like, oh, you gotta listen to him. He's super funny. And it's like, yeah.
Is he though? My dad loved Howard Stern, which makes sense now. Looking back at it, but.
Yeah, we lived in Indianapolis for quite a while, and and I think still is like the home of the Bob and Tom show.
Yeah.
And boy, everybody would talk about like, oh my gosh, did you listen to that this morning? Did you listen to that this morning? How about that? And it's like, yeah, just they're local, I guess.
Well, Grand Rapids is known for free beer and hot wings. They're local for us, so.
That's. I was like, is that the name of the people, or is it the?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's their code names. They have real names, but and I've listened to them, and they've had good episodes, and some episodes I just went, ha.
I can relate.
Right, exactly. I envy, they're obviously having fun doing a show, and more power to them. Not everybody's going to like them. You're in the public doing jokes, and, you're going to have your fans.
An opportunity to utilize one of the local radio talents. And talking with them on the phone is like, hey, yeah, okay, yep, all right. And then it's like, okay, now can you record this line? Oh, okay, certainly. This line right here, yep, okay. Well, here's what we're thinking about. And it's like, wow. It was like, it went from being kind of like average Joe voice to being smooth. You're now listening to the smooth music of...
Back to Casey Kasem.
Yeah, this dedication goes out to...
And half our audience just went, who? Who am I kidding? Everybody in our audience and knows that.
Yeah, if you're listening and you got this far, you have to already know who Casey Kasem is.
Right.
But, oh man, I was dying. Because it was just like, okay, yeah, certainly, can do, okay. Well, here we are. Ready for another action-packed adventure with... And I was like, wow. True radio.
True voice acting.
Yeah. Some people got it. And that dude clearly had it. And I was able to pull it all off amazingly well. But... yeah, I do not. That's why we're doing a podcast instead.
I don't have to worry about that crap.
Nope. Yeah, this voice that you're hearing is actually Andy modulates every single episode so that actually the words come out clearly.
That's right. Mike doesn't actually exist. He's an AI I generated.
Yep. A chat GPT kicked me out. Another AI fooled everybody.
Now, let's talk about AI for a second. That stuff scares me. I don't think we should be messing one bit with any of it. And everybody's like, all these youngsters are going, hey, that's cool. Let's do this and this and this and this. And I just think we're messing with fire.
Yep. There is something, and this is, again, old man conspiracy theory, but I want to throw this out there. If I have to go to a doctor's office, I am going to require that they present their diploma. And the reason is that if they graduated anytime after 2020, I'm out of there.
Yeah.
Because you think about it, between ChatGPT doing all their essays, and they're not actually doing the work.
Right.
And then even before that came out, with the lockdowns, they were just like, we're going to graduate you anyway. You know,
Right.
so it's like, I don't think I want to go to a doctor who has a degree from that era going forward. And it's like, I don't trust that you got the skills. I think you stole all of that information.
Well, now that you say that, I'm not sure I trust anybody, because now they just ask, like, here's your ailments. I'm going to go ask the AI now what you have, and I don't have to do any work. There's going to be a Max Headroom pop up on the TV and shout out what your ailment is.
Yeah, I mean, we're getting ever and ever closer to idiocracy, where there's just like, can you point out what picture your ailment looks like?
Right.
It's like, your stomach hurts? Okay, that's this. Here you go. That will solve your problem. Oh, your head hurts? This
Yeah.
icon shows a ouchie in the head? Yeah.
So anybody who thinks I'm going to ask my computer their opinion and so that they can do the work, they're just asking for like the ultimate dictator AI Terminator stuff coming your way in the next 10 years. Skynet's going to take over and we're just going to go, yeah, okay, great. Oh, you want to use my body as a battery like the Matrix? Okay.
Yeah.
As long as I can
I see I have a green tint.
As long as I can dream about watching Netflix, so I'm good.
Yeah. Keep filling me with these dopamine. I'm gonna be happy.
I think
content.
we've doomed ourselves here. And if you don't think that, oh man, you have not watched enough movies.
Yeah, and the thing is like, movies have warned us all along. I mean, that was like Philip K. Dick's entire like over, or however you want to pronounce that. It's his entire books, everything he's ever written was all about what we're dealing with right now. You know, and it's like, yeah, we're getting right in there. Here's a kicker, and this will only appeal or be of a concern to a very small group, but I spent the bulk of my early years learning Photoshop and career path. I mean, I worked on like Sports Illustrated stuff. I've worked with the Beatles. I've worked with Elvis, doing so much Photoshop work and just cleaning up old photos, adjusting. Like Sony was like, who handled the Beatles, was like, yeah, remove any signs of drinking and cigarettes. So I would have to go through their entire photo library and erase any cigarettes, any drinking. So there's like photos of John Lennon with just two fingers extended, going like doing finger guns, because it's like, clearly he held a cigarette at one point, but that's gone. Regardless, I would spend hours meticulously updating those photos. I worked with Kathy Ireland. She was 5 months pregnant, and it's like, nope, she's in a swimsuit, and make it so that she's not pregnant.
Do you still have her number?
Yeah, man, those are the days. But all that to say, I had spent so much time, so much effort doing all this Photoshop layers, and making it very convincing that skin tone was consistent. Now, with Photoshop, there's like Midjourney, which will create complete composite images based off of written text. But Photoshop just released this beta version that you can just circle an area and say, put this graphic in there, and as a typewritten prompt, and it'll do it. And it's like, you gotta be kidding me. My entire career path has been wiped out instantly by
Wow.
AI.
Wow.
And it's like all that time, all that Photoshop, all the adjustment layers, and all the tiny little pixel by pixel tweaks they used to do, it is now like they showed this guy who had a picture of a woman in a bikini. They said, look, it can even do this, and circled the woman, and it said gray turtleneck, and it put a gray turtleneck and gave 3 options, and it was done in moments, and it was absolutely convincing that this woman went from bikini top to wearing a gray turtleneck. And it had 3 different turtlenecks. It wasn't just like, oh, here's this one. Is this one a little bit better? It was like, no, 3 very different, light gray, dark gray, folded over turtleneck, mock turtleneck. It was like, holy sweet Moses, how? And but yeah,
That's just crazy magic.
yeah. And but at the same point, it's like I would labor forever to do that. At first I thought it was already kind of like ridiculous to see what, like those filters that you can see in Snapchat, adjustments and so forth. It's like, that's instant. That's doing it in real time. And what's really ridiculous is like, I would spend ages trying to make certain that the skin texture of a person was consistent across that whole like Photoshop job, so that it still looked like skin. But then with these filters and Snapchat and so forth, it literally smooths everything out so that there is no pores, there's no wrinkles, there's no creases, there's no folds, there's no tuck lines, nothing. It's like, huh? Like everything I was doing to try to make it look real is now like that. We don't want that. We want it to look fake. And it's like, dang gummit, that's
Right.
yeah. So again, rendered obsolete.
Yeah. I mean, let's be honest. We can have AI now generate a script and then produce it and film it based off of just random internet things, and it combines into it. Like it could, we don't need writers. We don't need artists. We don't need any of that now. I mean, now that's said in sarcasm because I really don't want that to happen. I don't think it will ever capture the same quality as a human, but you don't know. I don't like, they can already, they don't need actors. They can just generate the person's face. He doesn't even have to show up. He just has to sign over his likeness rights, or whatever. And, I'll put Luke Skywalker in whatever I want now, and he can do whatever he wants. He can be in a gray turtleneck sweater. He can then wear a bikini in the next scene. It's just crazy. And bring that to comic books. I could probably find an AI who will take my script and just do comic pages, right? I'm sure there is something out there that could do that. I could do my own comic with no artist whatsoever.
Yeah, somebody already did that using that Mid-Journey.
Yeah.
And just basically described every panel, wrote out a visual description of what was happening in every panel, and it created it.
Yep.
They were able to do a full 22-page comic book that way.
That is crazy.
Yeah. I mean, we've been using it where I'm at now.
Yeah.
Helping to write some, some compelling pieces and trying to add personality to stuff. And it's like, holy crap. Even down to some ridiculous things like, can you come up with a poem that ends with this as the punchline, almost like limericks, but it's able to do it. It knows, and it's able to pull. Some of it isn't so great, but then some are like spot on. It's like, oh yeah. And it's like, so why is the Writers Guild on strike? Is it because they really understand that their job is not really needed?
Right. That's the scary part, is you've just eliminated anything in the entertainment, and anything in most workplaces could be done AI generated. Like, what's everybody going to do now? And be the battery for them?
Yep, our overseers.
Is there a podcast by the AI yet?
I did get an email. I don't know if you saw that same email, but I got this email that says that the service we use, in fact, It has a automated co-host. I don't know if you saw that email.
I did. It transcribes. Will
Yeah.
it will give you titles, and it's great, but it's also not worth another $16 a month to do that. So no thanks.
Except for the Chat GPT, we were so eager to adopt that.
Yeah, it's gonna destroy us all. Until then.
Yeah, I was going to say, because this is actually a good segue into what we were going to talk about anyway. But, one of the things that I did use it for was,
I'm not really here.
Yeah, I'm in the bathroom dropping a deuce. This is actually the computer, so you don't hear me groaning and moaning in the background.
You're now on the list of first to die because you don't like us.
I had written some instructions. So we had a moment where I used some human resources, had a request to help out our IT department. And I think I may have mentioned this previously. But we had IT, and I was thinking, like, what, trying to, appeal to the new kids coming into IT and show that the bank, this bank that we work at, it's got an IT department for security and all the data that the bank holds. And it's like, yeah, that makes perfect sense. So I was like, well, what could we do to showcase our IT department? I said, well, why don't we make a game? And, with D&D 5th edition being so hugely popular, it was like, well, I can create a game based on our bank and just spin it as if it was like, this virtual reality world that they were, trying to keep the secrets and security for this virtual reality world. So I won't go into the whole semantics of how I built, but it's like I built and I wrote it, and then when I was writing it, the world building component was very free flowing, very stream of consciousness, very kind of like as ideas came to me, I just put them down. Excuse me. But then I'd get into the rules and the mechanics of like roll the dice to do this, and this happens when you do this. But it came across as two very distinct voices, because it was like, here's this light and airy stream of consciousness writing for the world, and then very matter-of-fact, cut and dry mechanics. And it felt jarring. So I put the entire thing up into ChatGPT, and I said, write this all, basically rewrite it, so that it flows better and has a more light-hearted direction. And it did it. It rewrote the entire instructions rule book for me.
In how many seconds?
It was legitimately, I didn't get out of the chair. I was thinking, I'll just grab a glass of water while it's doing this. I'll go down to the break room, grab some nice, nothing. It was like, as soon as I stood up, and I was like, will this work? And I was like, oh, okay, then I guess that's good. Now, I had to make some more tweaks to it afterwards, so it wasn't absolutely spot on, but still, it was good enough that I was like, yikes, that helped kind of meld it into one consistent tone.
Did you know that everything that it does, if you take every third letter, it spells out, I'm going to kill you first?
Yeah, I lied. Yeah, it was, it was really kind of scary how it was able to understand what I was trying to do and did it better than I could have. And it's what makes matters worse is that it sounded more human coming from a machine than me, a human, attempting to do it.
Right.
And it's like, oh, wow, that's really not comforting.
That's crazy. Do you know what it couldn't do, though? It couldn't do this.
Try as it might. It may not be able to accomplish that.
That is
When it does, though,
scary.
you know the end is absolutely here.
Right. We're already dead by the time that happens.
Yeah, that's like the last sound any human will hear. It's like, yeah, just to rub salt in the wounds about how it dominates the living world.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But that's a good segue into our talk on, I'll be honest, I don't remember why I picked this. It's been like a month since I thought, this would be a great show. We're going to talk about this the whole time. It'll be so good. And then after I avoided talking about it for a week or a month, I'm like, what was I going to say again? I don't know. But I wanted to talk about our love for role-playing, of course, role-playing games, and the joy and fun of superhero role-playing games. I think part of it was brought on by our discussion a while ago about the new Marvel one that just came out, or is coming out, and they had the playtest rulebook come out. The Multiverse role-playing game from Marvel. And I bought the $8 tryout, or $10 one apparently, because that's what it says on the back. Because I'm a sucker for superhero role-playing games. I like every single one just to look at and look at stats and who's stronger and what's going on and just a power list. And, that's like my joy. And I didn't even realize it till I bought this book. It's just fun to look at. And I think it stems back to Marvel Universe books where it's had all the stats for everybody and who's stronger, and then the DC who's who, and the Marvel handbooks. Like, I have all those, and I just like looking at this stuff. And I wondered if you had the same feelings. And then I guess I want to talk about individual systems and stuff like that. But what do you think about superhero role-playing? And I don't know why I'm really overemphasizing things. Just roll with it, okay? I'm really a chat.
Yeah. Yeah. What was that in Terminator 2? It's like, what's your dog's name?
Right.
And it's like, how's Wolfie?
Wolfie's dead?
Your parents are dead.
Yes.
They'll never replace because they can't tell a lie. Doesn't know all the memories. Yeah, I like how they represent comics. I think is what it boils down to it. How do they convey Spider-Man sticking to the wall? How did they convey Superman being able to fly so fast or lift so much? And how can they put that into numbers and values and comparative values, and then have those comparative values match up against others so that you can actually engage in some sort of conflict and so forth. It's like, how do you make Batman scary by his presence? It's like those little subtle things I always found fascinating. It's like, okay, when I think of Spider-Man, I think of these components. Like, how does danger sense work in a game setting? Because it's like, does it universally get out of any sort of absolute, like, he'll never get hit because he's got danger sense. He knows it's coming. Or is it like, sometimes it comes on, sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes this person avoids it, sometimes this other person, that kind of thing. So I always found it really interesting to see how the system would run a comparison. And then also I always like to see who's the most powerful of any of these stats or any of these abilities. Like, who's the best fighter out there? Who's the strongest out there? And, that kind of thing where there's like, that I always got fixated on too, because it's just so, like, if Thing fought the Hulk, the Thing would win if it was a Fantastic Four book, but the Hulk would win if it was a Hulk book. But in a role-playing setting, it's like, it's neutral territory, so who would really win? And it would sometimes come down to dice rolls, and it would sometimes come down to like, well, this stat he's really this big, strongest, or and so that I always liked. I do miss or lament the fact that you'll never be able to say truly like the same stats for Marvel will be applicable to DC on an official basis.
Right. Yeah.
And because there'll always be, DC will have to have whatever game system and setup for it, and Marvel will have its own. So you'll never get like, could Thor beat up Superman? Is he strong enough to do that? They're both of supernatural levels. So which one could do what?
Yeah.
So that would be the only thing that if there was ever a way to do, it would be kind of cool to see like.
To do both sides, yeah. And that's, some of it, let's start out. My initial role-playing for superheroes was Champions, and that's the first game I played. I was pretty sure I played it soon after it came out, and I don't know what year that was, but it was early 80s. And my brother was running a game. I made Wolverine, and he was my favorite character at the time. I was reading X-Men a lot. I thought he was cool. I was 12 years old or something. So, of course, Wolverine was the coolest character at 12 years old. So I made Wolverine for Champions. And I loved every second of playing that character, even though, I wasn't really playing Wolverine. It wasn't a Marvel setting. It was just one of many. And had a very enjoyable time playing my favorite superhero. If I wanted to make an original guy, I could have, but I made one off of existing character. That system, I'm sure we talked about it a little bit before, but it's roll 3d6. You have phases where you can go on. If you're faster than everybody else, then you get to go more. And the system just worked for me. I'm not sure I could go back to it and play it. I don't know if it holds up, but back then in the 80s, I loved that game. Different versions. I probably still have 2 or 3 versions. I know, George Perez cover on one of them. I still have that and will never get rid of it. But it was just a great system for the time. As well as that I have a favorite superhero system, and that's not it. It was enjoyable for the time period that I played, and I played a bunch of different characters. Some of it was original, some of it was not. I GM'd it a lot, and it was fun too. That system, great character sheet where you could draw your own guy on it and stuff like that. I would just scrape away the ink and just leave it blank, and then draw my own guys or add on to it. And I'm not an artist, but it was still fun and stuff. So
the game, I think the biggest drawback in my mind was how crunchy everything was. I just remember spending so much time just creating a character, and I don't think I played half the characters I created, but I just remembered like, okay, your PE versus their PPE, and then remember to take into account their SPDs and what? It was just like, there was so much numbers referencing other numbers that reference other things, and then your outcome was this, and you're like, oh, you lost me. You absolutely lost me. And I tried running the game using that system, and I really kind of got into it. I understood it. Once you get it, you get it. But those initial waves, you're just like, oh my gosh, I have no idea. Because you're like, I came across a folder in a closet that had a bunch of old character sheets that I had done over the years, and one of them was a Champions character sheets. And I just looked at it, and I'm like, I'm lost. I have no idea how this would even work. Where am I supposed to be? What's my reference point? How am I? And it is interesting because it's like, we've been gaming, for quite a long time, that there's certain things that we know to look for. And it's like, okay, where's my base stats? Okay, where's my modifiers? Okay, and what do I need to roll? Okay, got it. And now with everything being kind of like D20, 20-sided die based, it's like, okay, so do I roll high or low? Okay, got it. Okay, we're good. Let's go. But this system was like, whew. Compare your energy value versus their protective values or whatever. It's like, wow, this was over the top. But my first was the TSR's Marvel Superheroes game.
From the producers of Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah. And I liked it for what it was, but at the same point, there was some just clunkiness about it.
We played the heck out of that game.
Oh, we did. And, our sadly, our friend who's no longer with us now, Aaron had his nothing in particular man, and that was due to the fact that all your powers were randomly generated, and everything was randomly generated. I mean, it was just like the only thing you had really any control over was naming your character, and that was about it. Because there was charts that would give you like, okay, I'm going to be this, and then it's like, and if you rolled really well, you could make a character as strong as Thor. But if you rolled crappy, you were Aunt May.
And you're playing in the same game.
Yeah, right out of the gates, you're both like, okay, what are you going to do? I am going to snuff out the sun, and you,
I'm going to bake a pie.
Yeah, exactly. And you're going to struggle with that. But, I mean, I still remember the system, it was Face Rip or something like that. It was like FASERIP. And it was like fighting, agility, strength, endurance. I mean, I know it all. We played it so much.
There's still a solid group on Facebook that does modules for that and updated characters. Like it's a solid game still. Like they crank stuff out.
Yeah, and it's weird because like obviously Dungeons and Dragons has got a lot of that old school revival or whatever they want to call it, Renaissance. But it's basically people trying to go back to what the original Dungeons and Dragons was like, but fix it. And so there's a countless number of fixes out there to that system. And it's interesting to see that they still are going back to that old Marvel setup and trying to fix it again. It's like, man. I understood the concept, but my big takeaway was two issues with it. One was there's a percentile. You rolled, a percent dice, and you fell into certain like categories, either green, yellow, or red. And more often than not, which was weird, is that it was the reverse of the traffic lights. You actually wanted the red because that was the highest you could roll, and yellow was the second highest, and the green was like the bottom basement. And if you didn't get into the green, it was a failure. And what I didn't like about it was it didn't take into account who you were up against. So let's say you had an amazing agility as Spider-Man, and you wanted to shoot your webs. You would have the same chance of shooting your web to hit a building as you would shooting the web and tangling up Silver Surfer. And it's like, this guy can travel the speed of light, and the chances of you catching him are just as strong as catching a thing that does not move at all. And it's like, and it's just like, nope, it's just based, you roll, you have an amazing agility, roll, and if you roll in the green, you did it. And technically, yes, you could say, well, in order to get Silver Surfer, you have to get in the red. It's like, I still think I could even attempt it. I can set up a trap and have them run into it, but I don't think I could catch them with my webs.
Right.
And that was my thing. It was that there was just no way to potentially even address, that somebody was better than you, and it should have lowered your values, and or made it more difficult. But like you said, there was a lot, and I still own it all. I mean, I still have all of those, their handbooks.
Yeah.
Binders full of those things.
I never owned it, but I own both the yellow and the regular box now. The only thing I can't get is the Extraordinary Powers book or something like that, because it's outrageous. It's outrageously expensive.
Oh, is it really?
Yes. Yeah, so I just not bother with that. And I don't. I mean, I read them, but I don't play anymore anyway. So I don't need that book. But
yeah, and there's enough out there that you could easily find a.
Oh, I'm sure I have a digital copy of it somewhere.
Yeah, but the Ultimate Powers book, while it was great, it was amazing how many of those powers were like, I'm going to re-roll. I'm stuck with this power. And some of them were like, yeah, just because you needed to fill in some more to kind of help round out that category. It was like, I'm good. I don't think you need to have all these powers options available.
And I have a fond memory of playing Marvel. Some of my favorite characters that I've made were in those Marvel games, and we played them for a while. I had a character called the White.
Oh, yeah.
And he eventually became a herald of something, Galactus, I think. And it's just, amazing stuff as role players, just to, branch out and have some fun, and sky's the limit, and it was just some fun superhero times. I think the system for me still works. A lot of it's nostalgia, though. Like, really, there's better there's a better system, but it's just fun to play. I think, even everything Marvel tries to do afterwards gets compared to people's memories of playing the original rather than the system of it. It's nothing can beat the original, because I had a lot more fun playing it back then than what they're doing now. This new system they're doing, of course, everybody has to have their own dice, the special dice that, you could use regular dice, but you need these dice to play perfectly better. And, it's based on a 3D6 system. And if there's a Marvel die, and if you roll the Marvel die really good, that something special happens, and you botch the Marvel roll if you roll a 1, it's all target numbers and stuff. So I don't think you can get away with too much now. It's all very similar to something that's been done before. This is the playtest, so I'm sure a lot of it's changed. But, some of the powers are as equally as ridiculous as the face rip ones. Like, I'm looking at one now, and there's a power called Body Sheet, where you can flatten yourself like a sheet. That's as good as, plant power, where you can make a flower grow. There's ridiculously lame powers, and it's really just how you do it.
Yeah. And they added something where it was this gimmick on this new one, where it's like, if you roll a 6, 1, and a 6, something amazing happens because of it being the 616 universe of the Marvel continuity. Main continuity is in the 616 universe.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's pretty weak.
Right. I'll just be waiting for that day.
Yeah. I was like, that's not really going to happen. And I don't know why people are like, oh, yeah, when I rolled that, it'll never replace, like, if you're into games, you'll hear the nat 20. That was a nat 20. You know, rolling a 616. No one's going to go, whoa, I rolled a 616. No, that's not gonna, no one's going to say that.
Right.
And the chances, statistically speaking, very, very slight.
Yeah.
So,
Now, I say that, though, but I can't wait for the new book to come out so I can buy it, you know. I already asked my brother, you know, because he gets a discount, you know, what's that price over there, you know. Oh, okay.
I own a few of the other ones. I've got one that I think it was Margaret Weiss had put together, which was, I think it was like Marvel Heroic role-playing game. And in that one, instead of it being like a stat being a certain number, your stat was a certain die type. So if you were really good, you got a 20-sided. If you were pretty good, you were at a 10-sided. If you stunk up the place, you got a 4-sided die. And you'd roll that against a target number. And if you could throw in any other combination, it would give you extra dice. And then you added all the numbers together, and then you compare their target number, difficulty number, and then you earned. So I thought that was an interesting take. You know, so like Captain America's fighting might have been a 12-sided die.
Oh, I have that one too. Yeah, I just saw the cover to that.
Yeah, that one's not a bad system. I also had Marvel's Saga system. It was so that TSR had experimented, and they had this thing called the Saga system. And it was, they used it for Dragonlance. It wasn't quite Dungeons and Dragons, but they used it for Dragonlance. Forgotten Realms or something. It was Dragonlance, and this Marvel superhero set, and it was using a deck of cards. So there wasn't the dice. You have a hand of cards, and you expend a card, and so forth. And, there would be certain cards that were for good, there were certain cards that were for bad, and they had, you know, images of various superheroes on it, so each card kind of like, you know, if I happen to be this character and I played this card, you know, I was like, ooh, check this out, you know, but it was like a Doom suit as well, so that if you played it, it would help the GM create a more disastrous setup for you or something like that. And I can't remember exactly how it all worked, but that was a different setup as far as like, you know, it eliminated the dice, but it swapped it out for cards.
Yeah.
And it was a proprietary deck of cards. And then I think I had one other Marvel set, and it was, oddly enough, it was actually created by Marvel Comics themselves, so it wasn't like TSR or some other third party. It was like Marvel made it themselves. And
Was that like Marvel Universe or something?
yeah, I think, yeah, Marvel, or it might have just been called Marvel Role-Playing Game or something like that. And that one used like gems, and you'd use like these little tokens, and you made pools. And there was one philosophical point that they made that I thought, yeah, that makes sense. And the whole game mechanic was based off of the expenditure of energy and not necessarily the probability of success. And they had made a reference to like, did you ever see Spider-Man miss with his webs? It was more that he concentrated and made certain that it happened, and the more he concentrated, the more likely that thing happened. But he never missed with his webs. It was like, oh, I can kind of see that. And it's like, so the point was that I'm going to spend 4 points of energy to make certain my web shooters work and hit this building so I can swing from building to building safely. And then as the GM, you kind of went back and forth and like almost like in a bidding war of like, well, then I'm going to spend 5 energy to have the Green Goblin cut your webs. And then it's like, well, then I'm going to spend 6 energy. But then the thing was that it depleted your pool, and you only had a finite amount of points you could put into a pool at any given time until you had to kind of like take a break and rest and recoup your points. And so it was kind of clever in that it just basically was like, at some point you had to give up and say, okay, I have to admit defeat, or as the GM you had to admit defeat. And then that was how the things were resolved. But you kind of told the story, and then whatever the outcome was, you both spent your points, and you discarded them. But it was kind of an interesting mechanic.
Had you played that one?
I gave it an honest try. I own all the books. I have the Hulk cover, one that was supposed to be the Hulk and the Avengers, because the Hulk movie had come out. I think it may have been the Ang Lee, if that tells you when this thing.
The X-Men book.
Molded, yeah. And the Spider-Man was the main book cover, and that was a Mark Bagley Spider-Man cover, if I remember right. But it was an interesting concept. It didn't really show you how you could really play it. It wasn't really well written, and making your own character was almost impossible. So you kind of had to rely on these source books, and you had to kind of go like, is your character as strong as the Hulk? Okay, so then look up the Hulk. Is your character as fast as, Daredevil, or is he fast like Quicksilver? And then look up that, and it's like, so you were just kind of hodgepodging, and there wasn't like I don't remember there being like hard and fast rules of like how many points you could get towards building a character. I think it was just you and the game master come to a resolution. I was like, oh gosh.
Are you sure you want that?
Yeah, and that was kind of like, if I remember right, that's how that one went. So those are the 3 Marvel games that I have, or 3 or 4 that I have that were like, yeah, Marvel gave it a good try. They definitely gave it a good try.
I do remember that one. I believe I have some of those books too. I know I never played it.
Yeah, I tried, when it came out, I tried to get my brother, one of my older brothers, because I was thinking, like, this might be a system suited for him, because it wasn't the dice, because he'd get mad at, like, the dice roll like crap, and it's like, yeah, but that's kind of the point.
It's dice.
Really random. And this one was truly about, like, you allocating your points, but by doing so, it kind of left you open in other areas, because it's like, do I set some of these aside for my defense? Do I set some of these aside for future actions I want to build up to? Kind of like if you ever watch Dragon Ball Z, and it's like, I'm building up my energy blast. I'm going to stand here for the next
10 rounds.
Yep, and then they finally release my devastation power, and it's like, okay. But that was kind of the Marvel, that setting, and, he was like, I don't get it, and I couldn't really explain it well enough. It's like, man, if I can't explain this setup, and that's why it fizzled out pretty quick.
Yeah, none of these, except the original, stayed very long, that's for sure. They always tried to do a different one every couple years. Maybe it was, and Marvel has tried their very own to do it. None has been very successful. I'm not sure why they can't come up with a system that works. I mean, they all kind of work, but nothing has grabbed the players' attention enough to stay with it.
Yeah, it's tough, and I will say that creating superheroes is a very difficult set, because it's like, if you were to create most other games, your spectrum of like how powerful is pretty tight. Even if you look at Dungeons and Dragons, it's like you're a wizard, but you can't create life. You can make a magic missile. And it's like, and you're not going to be able to lift planets. You can lift maybe an iron gate, at best. And so it keeps all the players within the similar kind of confines of because they're not over the top. They are over the top in some ways, but they're not like what potentially a superhero could be over the top. It's like if you were to look at like let's say the Teen Titans, speaking of George Perez, the Marv Wolfman George Perez era, you've got Robin, very good martial arts. That's really about it. And he's in there with Starfire, who can fly, shoot lasers, has amazing physical attraction abilities and some other power sets. And as a character, she was like what, princess of a planet?
Yeah.
And it's like, huh. And Robin, oh, you're mooching off of someone else. You're not even you can't even say you're wealthy. You are just a ward of another character. It's like you don't contribute anything. You haven't worked a day in your life except for working out.
Here's a little bit of trivia. You know what Starfire's best power was?
The fact that her hair...
Okay, her second best power then. She could absorb languages by physical contact. Yeah, that's how she learned English. Was she kissed Robin and learned English at the same time. Not very many writers use that power, but I would all the time.
Yeah, she's getting up and cozy with all sorts of people.
She knows every language on the planet. Don't ask how.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah. You got Aquaman blushing at you now knows Atlantean.
Right, yeah. How do you know Atlantean? Aqualad backs up. We've been skirting the issue here of the greatest superhero role-playing game ever created was the DC Heroes from Mayfair. Just like Marvel, DC's had a bunch of different ones, but this one is amazing. And we played it a lot as well. And I have all the different versions. Still, yeah, third edition is hard to come by, but it is the perfected version of the other two. Each version was good, but the third edition was certainly the best. They did fix all little things along the way.
And they kept, it wasn't like they were complete overhauls of the rules. It was just more about refining some of the characters and some of the character powers and then how some of those things interact.
Yeah, fine-tuning it. Yeah, the original Blue Box had Superman with a strength of 50, which is great, back then. But then Crisis happened and Superman was neutered a bit. And then the second version had him be a 25. And then suddenly that's what you compare everybody else to. And, each person had to be adjusted after that. DC Heroes simplest had 2 charts. Everything you ever could do went through those 2 charts. You compare numbers, and that's what you had to roll. If you rolled doubles, you get to roll again. I haven't played it in 20 years, and I still know all the rules to this because it's so simple. 2 10-sided die. That's all you needed. Didn't need any other die. They had a good system to make your own guys that other systems emulated after that, like Mutants and Masterminds and other systems that I can't think of now.
There's been a lot that have kind of lifted, almost full cloth. And then that system wound up being sold off to another company, bought the rights to that game setup, and they called Blood of Heroes or something like that was the name of the continuation after the DC license was removed, and then another game company bought the system and tried to use it themselves. They wanted to be calling MEGS, which was Mayfair Exponential Game System, because every number was twice the number before, meaning a 2 is twice as strong as a 1, and a 3 is twice as strong as a 2, and so everything doubled, and it was that made it, which I thought was great because it kept the numbers within reason. Because in Marvel's system, they had quickly burnt through the numbers. They were like, yeah, incredible. I think Unearthly was 100 points.
Yeah.
And, then there was a Shift X, and there's some these other ones in Beyond and Class 5000. There's these weird naming conventions that had weird numbers. Yeah, but DC was like, nope, we're going to keep it like every human is a 2 across the board. Boom, 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 boom. 2 strength, 2 dex.
Right. And the highest peak was 5. Like Batman was 5, and then that's the highest human could work out and stuff,
Yeah, athletic, and then after that it became like super powered levels, and it's like, everything was so well thought through that anything was really possible. You could legitimately make anything happen in that system, and it worked. And you rolled, and to go back to the analogy that I had earlier about Spider-Man shooting a web, this setup, it was like, how fast is this thing moving? So you look at the person's their defense value, which was either like their dexterity versus dexterity, and it was a comparative. So you compared your dexterity or your power level versus their power level, and that gave you a target number that you had to hit. And if their power level was really low, it was easier to hit. If their power level was really high, it was very difficult to hit. And it's like, this makes perfect sense. And that's what I think really solidified the game in my head as being nearly flawless.
Yeah. And I remember just having fun making characters, and I had fun making characters champions, don't get me wrong, but there was a lot of math involved, where this was, there was math because everything was a certain amount of points, but it all made sense. And like, if you wanted street level characters, then all the characters make a 250 point character. If you wanted mid range Teen Titans, then you're 750. You want a Superman campaign, then you're 2,000. It was all reasonable, and you didn't have one person. Well, I'm gonna have time travel abilities, and you are a street level Daredevil. And we're gonna team up. It didn't set you up like that. Now, you could have if you wanted to. It's your game. Do what you want. But the rules made sense in a lot of ways, and it was just fun to GM, fun to play. Very fond memories of playing that game. And like I said, I know the rules now, and I haven't looked at a rule book in years.
Oh, no. Yeah, I think I might be able to make a character really that much hesitation. Like, it's like, okay, what is this again? There was a little bit of like, okay, that one has a base cost of this, and it's on column 4 of the cost. It's like, okay, so you did have to do some accounting in order to create a character, but once the character was created, the game just flowed really well. And I think the other aspect that was in the character creation process, you could say, yeah, I want to have a street level character, but I'm going to make my character more akin to a high end, like a Starfire character, and that was simply by taking on more weaknesses or vulnerabilities, and one of the things that makes DC very different than Marvel was, one of the key components is that, it came out of the golden era, golden age, and Marvel didn't have a golden age. Marvel had a silver age. But the golden age allowed for the quirkiness of weird weaknesses. Like, my power only lasts an hour. Thank you, Hour Man. Or, my powers don't work against wood, or the color yellow, or I'm vulnerable to this rock that's from my home planet. It's like, Marvel doesn't have any of those. I can't think of any character that has a quirky weakness. I mean, what Marvel did was to incorporate real world weaknesses, meaning, Peter Parker was a teenager and had actual teenager problems. And Fantastic Four was a family, so they actually had family and squabbles. But they didn't have the quirkiness of those other aspects. And that's where I liked about the DC is that, we have the same amount of points, but if you're willing to take on some foibles to the character, you could. And I thought that's what made it even more enjoyable, because it was such a, you could get some different power levels in a team, but the one person who is stepping in with Superman-like powers also has Superman-level weaknesses too.
I mean, DC has came out with a few different versions, just like Marvel did. They had a DC Universe one, and none of them seemed to capture what I liked about the original. I'm not I own, I think, most of those Marvel ones. I'm not sure I own some of the DC ones. Maybe they just didn't do it for me. I mean, I think I had them one time and then sold them. Yeah, just something magical about that system for me. More than just it was fun playing. That system worked in every level. A system that didn't work in every level though? Villains and vigilantes. And I had, yeah, Jeff D. I posted on the Old Guys Who Like Old Comics forum that we were going to do a role playing, and actually Villains and Vigilantes was the game most people referenced, and I didn't. I said Champions, Marvel Superheroes, but a lot of people brought up Villains and Vigilantes. Graham posted and said it was a great game. Jason said he played Champions as a kid, so that was cool. To the show, Brian had some things that we're going to talk about when we talk about our Bat-Manga. Wayne said Villains and Vigilantes was the best. So, I mean, I'm glad he loved it.
You remember your first exposure. It's kind of like your first kiss, your first, first experiences on most anything. You're going to say, yeah, I will always remember my first crush. I will always remember my first, failing grade in school, or I'll remember, anything. Sometimes we won't say it out loud, but the other things and you'll always have that, and that has a resonance. Your favorite song, the first album you bought, that kind of a thing. The first movie you went to see by yourself. Those are the kind of things you remember. And I think Villains and Vigilantes, for a lot of us, that was one of the early games that came out. I still have a copy of 40-page book compared to today's 500-page player's guide, plus
right.
500-page game master's guide, plus, and you're like, oh jeez. One thing I did like about Villains and Vigilantes, though, was that they made an effort to say, I'm going to use my heat vision, and you're using a force field. Well, I'm going to cross-reference heat vision versus force field, and I need to roll this. Yeah, but that was okay.
Yeah, it was another one of those games where you could do a random chart and come up with the most ridiculous character you could ever think of, with, ice powers and plant control and, just a weird range. I remembered, even in that book, it said you could play yourself, you're you, but with powers. And I brought that up in the discussion, and Wayne from the page said, you could do that, but, we didn't do that. We did this other thing. And he obviously loved this game. He said they even made a stupid powers chart. So he created a guy that had control useless animal, superhumanly hideous laughter, and he glowed in the dark. That's his, one of the things he did. I took my games way too seriously for that. But that sounds like a lot of fun, like you said, wherever you had the most fun with, that's your game, your superhero game. So maybe I'm selling villains and vigilantes short because I didn't. For one, I didn't own it. My brother owned it, and I just kind of pilfered through the book on my free time. But it just never clicked with me. But apparently, it clicked with a lot of people. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I think it had, because Jeff D had his art throughout the whole thing. I feel like that came out before Marvel Superheroes did. But it was also less expensive, too, if I recall. So it was easier to get your hands on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I still have my copy of it. And it's just I flip through it every now and then just to kind of oh, yeah. I don't remember playing it that much. I think it was just because it's we had other games that we were going through, and the Marvel one, I think I had encountered Marvel before I had encountered villains and vigilantes or champions. And, because my older brother got the Marvel game that I believe I wound up with his copy. Because he was like, I don't get it. And he tried. He thought that was going to be his entry into role-playing games, and he just never did grasp the intent.
We'll have to look it out. There's so many superhero games that we haven't talked about. But, Mutants and Masterminds, Rifts had something, I'm sure.
Heroes Unlimited.
Yeah, Heroes Unlimited and everything like that. Maybe we'll have a part 2 sometime, getting past our normal rundown of things. So if you have a favorite superhero role-playing game, please let us know. Join in the discussion on our Facebook page. We are in This Is Why I Love Comics podcast. Our webpage is in This Is Why I Love Comics podcast at buzzsprout.com. You can email us at thisiswhyilovecomics@gmail.com. We're on the Twitter and This Is Why I L1. You can support the show, become a patron member. There's a link on our webpage. Thanks to all our supporters and friends. Thanks for the comments on the on the Facebook page. I do appreciate that as well. We couldn't do it without you. Thanks to producer Tony, co-hosts Matt 2.0, Kevin, and Matt 10.0. And thanks to Thunder Chicken for the music. Check them out on Spotify. There's a link also in the show notes. Next episode, we're talking about Bat-Manga. That's right, another manga, and it's about Batman. That's a win-win. I won't tell you if I like it or not, but I'm about halfway through. So and This Is Why I Love Comics, I'm Andy.
And I'm Mike.
And bring on the thunder.
Just focus on the relay team. Ingest the fallacy.